Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hingham School Committee meeting of June 3rd, 2019. The first order of business is a call to order, so please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised by Harbor Media. If anyone else in the audience intends to audio or video record this meeting, could you just let me know now? All right, thank you. We have a lot of guests here tonight, so we have a very full agenda of things to do, so we'll move right into our business, and then we will have some guest speakers tonight. So the second order of business is approval of minutes. We have minutes of the school committee meeting held on May 20th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the school committee meeting held on May 20, 2019.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ed. Any discussion, questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Oh, abstain. Oh, you weren't here. That's right. Thank you, Liza. All right. Item 3 on our agenda are questions and comments. So the Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement and welcomes questions and comments as agenda items are discussed. In addition, we have set aside time at the beginning of the meeting for comments or questions that fall under the purview of the school committee that are not on tonight's agenda. There's much more of this to read, but is anyone here to speak about anything not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will not read the rest of that. Item number 4 is the superintendent's report. So Dr. Gallo, you have a couple of updates for us?
Yes, as most of you know who were there Saturday, it was a lovely day for graduation and almost anything else you would choose to do. And things went very smoothly. It was a very orderly class and lots of accomplishments to be proud about. And I always enjoy especially the student speeches because I think they are both well written and well presented and always have a theme and a message, and I enjoyed both of those. So things went well. This was our first time having a Saturday morning graduation ceremony. First time in a long time, many years. Many years ago we used to do them on Saturday mornings, and then we changed them to the later in the day for a number of different reasons. This year we changed them back, and not sure we needed to, as it turned out, but many people made positive comments. I know that there are others who felt it got too warm at midday when midday approached, and so we'll have to look at how things went inside as well, because it was an SAT day, and that still was at the high school. We weren't able to change it at the last minute to another building, and we were worried about the parking, but things seemed to go okay there as well. We did have extra police on patrol just for to be sure that people went to the right places and that there would be room for everyone. So all in all, it was not just a great day, but a great week. The kids had a wonderful barbecue out here the week before, and then the week of the graduation, there was an award ceremony on the Tuesday night, and on the Thursday night was the prom, which everyone enjoyed, and the weather held off so that people at least got to the prom in a dry state. So all in all, I think it went well. I had a lot of positive comments. I was out and about town during the rest of the day and on Sunday, and people always comment on the fact that our graduations are orderly ceremonies, and that isn't the culture in a lot of places. But I remember telling, when I was an assistant principal at the high school, remember telling the students that there are a lot of things for you that week, but I always think of the ceremony and the awards night as for the parents. And so do what you think your parents would appreciate and dress the way you think your parents would want you to appear. And most of the time they do. So that went very well. Close of school details. You know, we have the situation because of the fire at the high school a couple of weeks ago, where the high school students have one additional day to make up of what the elementary and the middle school have. And so the end days, the last few days of both the middle school and the high school, always are exam days. It's a little easier to make them up because they're shorter days to have to make up, but that will go into the following week for the high school. Elementary will still be getting out on the Friday, the 14th, and the high school on the 17th, on Monday, and the teachers have a day, professional development day, we call it, but it's a day that's in their contract, but that is when students aren't there, and that will move by a day at the high school because of the fire situation. So we think that will be fine. We have to come to vote again tonight, or to try to vote again tonight on the school calendar for next year, and there are several issues that are related to that same concept of everyone possibly not going on the same days. So we'll talk about that later in the agenda. So.
Sounds great, thank you. The graduation was very nice, so again, congratulations to the class of 2019. For those young visitors that we have today, just a little note that Saturday's graduation was Dr. Gallo's last high school graduation that she'll be presiding over as the superintendent of schools, so I'm sorry that you will miss her when it becomes your turn to become graduates, which will be here before you know it, especially for you parents.
And I missed one of those, so there have been 56 graduations since I've been working here, and then, of course, my own graduation when I went to Hingham High School. And so I missed one of the 56, so I actually was at, how many? 55, exactly.
She used to be a math teacher.
And the one I missed was because I have a son who now is 55 years old, and his graduation from a college was the same day as our graduation at Hingham High School. So, of course, I had to go to his graduation. It was in Connecticut, and I missed that one. But all the others, I've been here, and I've been proud of every single one of them. And you'll enjoy that day, too, when you get there.
We'll invite Dr. Gallo as a special guest for your graduation. Thank you. Item 5 is communication. So do you have any communications?
Yes, the facility report that comes to us from Katie Hartman and Doug Foley is there. I think it's a month behind, but you know, a lot of good things going on, particularly as we're getting into summer and ready for summer and getting things all lined up for the various construction and capital outlay jobs that we have to have done. So I can take you there.
Yep, everybody has that in their packets.
So. We're playing with all kinds of new chords and new devices here tonight. Well, you can find that there.
It always happens. I don't see Ellen here.
I don't know what, like, this will work. We just blow it.
Right. Very high tech. Okay.
Come on, Thomas. Really high tech here.
Trying to turn it off and turn it on.
Let's try this. Let's just reboot.
Right, reboot.
I don't know.
Is it the facilities report?
Every time we buy a new computer,
Packet, you should have it.
Yeah.
there's a new
It's-
connection.
Right. Do you want, we have it in our packet, so
Yeah.
do you have any comments in particular about it, or does anyone have any questions?
No.
No? All right. Anybody have any questions on the facilities report? Okay, great, all right. Was that it for your communications?
That's the only one.
That's the only
that
one
I
you had,
have.
okay. And I don't see Emma here for the student report. Tony, there's nobody out in the hallway, is there? Nope, all right. All right, and then 5.3, any other communications from anybody? No? All right. So moving right along to item 6 is to discuss the approval of the Hingham Public Schools calendar for 2019-2020 and act as appropriate. So as a reminder to everyone, we have a request from the town clerk, Eileen McCracken, to consider closing the middle school and the high school on primary day on March 3rd of 2020. It will be a presidential primary, and the town clerk is asking for a variety of reasons if we would consider closing the schools that day. So, and so this would potentially just be the high school and the middle school, but as Dr. Gallo mentioned, that sometimes can create some scheduling issues. So we had agreed at our last meeting that we approved vacation schedules for 19 and 20 for the next school year, but just a couple of the days we have to figure out what we're going to do with the calendar. So I did ask June Gustafson if she would survey the membership and see what their thoughts were on this. So there were a couple different ways to deal with this.
All right, so I'm June
Thank you, June.
Gustafson. I'm the president of the Hingham Education Association. So I sent surveys to all faculty at both schools. I got 60 responses. 64% preferred a late start. 19% wanted school canceled. And it's not by building or anything. And 17% made their own suggestions, some which were not viable for our needs. And I actually, after speaking to members, I didn't realize that the high school is not set up like the middle school in terms of voting, where we can keep them right in the gym area, and that at the high school they're wandering through the school hallways to get to the polling place. And in light of student safety, I think that's a very important consideration that the
Yes.
school committee should make. And if I could change my vote, I would have changed it to
All
canceling
right.
the school.
Well, to clarify, so at the last couple of elections, they do only allow people to come in through the back door to get into the gymnasium, but that's part of Eileen's issue and question on it, because it can be problematic for the voters. If they come, they don't know that they're supposed to go around to the back, and so that was part of the issue too. Then if we did cancel school, or the high school at least didn't have classes that day, then people could go through the front doors to vote rather than having to come through the back.
To me, student safety
Yes.
is the most important issue
Absolutely.
of the day.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so
You're
much,
very
June.
welcome.
All right. So that is the input from the HEA. So what are people's thoughts? I would say the one thought with the late start was that that the voting tends to be heavier in the morning hours. So if the high school didn't open until it's 10:30, the start time, if they didn't start till 10:30, well, you have avoided the traffic during the day. But that doesn't solve the question of safety and/or voter access to the polling place.
And we were asked to not have school.
Yeah, and right, and the request from the town clerk was to not have school that day. Correct. Yes.
So why can't the high school gymnasium be closed off like the middle school gymnasium?
Well, it can be, but it means that people need to park in a smaller lot. And because that's a fairly recent thing that we've done, is to change and have people drive down to what we call the auto shop lot, which is smaller. And when we did it, the few times we did it, people didn't know when they came to the school that they had to go all the way around the school.
Right.
So we had them then parking in the wrong lot and coming in the wrong door, and they hadn't had a lot of practice with it, so it didn't work well, particularly in the morning. Most of the voters in a presidential election are the people who come in the morning before they go to work. And so they're wanting to get in and get out fast, and they just go to the door they've always gone to, and it's a matter of training, and, we do this once or twice a year, and so it's not enough time to do the training. But I'm a bit concerned that if we do it at this election and close schools, and then we have the actual election, which is going to be the following fall, then there'll be the expectation we'll do it then, and all of a sudden we'll have a new culture and a new habit and a new practice, and I'm not sure that's what you're going to want to be doing, is closing school now twice every year. So that presents a problem.
would be once a school year.
Do you think it's a fair statement to say that the primary will be smaller than that following state election?
Well, I don't know.
Smaller than
I
the
think
national
in
election?
general, primaries are smaller. However, the presidential election.
No, I'm just, the primary number
Yeah.
comes first,
Yes.
followed by the general state election.
Yeah.
Followed by the national presidential.
Right.
Would it be a fair statement to say that they increase in use? In other words, the first one that's on the agenda would be the smallest of the three?
I'm not so sure, because
Not so
now
sure.
that we're allowed to vote the 2 weeks before the actual election, and they can come here and vote, there were an awful lot of people that did that in the last election. So I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case.
I would also say that the state primary election in September would be the smaller one than
That's what I'm trying to-
the March one and the November one. I think are going to be your two biggest ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the state-only ones, I think we can handle possibly with a late start, but.
Right.
And if we do it differently for every election, that gets to be confusing as well. So,
And,
I think the bigger question is, should it be only, that has been raised anyway, at least by people I've talked to, is, should it be only high school and middle school, or should it be all schools? And there's a cost to that, because if it's just the high school, then there's an additional student day of school. If it's all schools, we avoid the cost of having to have buses on days 180 and 181. Another thought.
So my question is, if the school is closed on March 3rd, have you decided what's going to happen with the staff, with the teachers? Is
Well,
there going to be a
we have to
PD?
decide first. Are we going to close school? Then we can decide whether or not there should be a teacher work day that day. We did that before, and that didn't seem to be a problem. Teachers, of course, drive cars, but there's more than enough parking space for them to be there with voters coming in and out.
because right now, there is scheduled a half PD day the next day,
So-
or tentatively.
Yeah, Jim, did you give any thought to the moving it to the 11th? Was that agreeable to the
No, but I didn't put
ask
that
either?
in the polling thing.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Got it.
So we're talking about moving, so everyone understands, so the way this is right now, March 3rd is a Tuesday, and that's the
Yeah.
election day. On our schedule, we have early releases on the first Wednesday of every month, which would be the 4th. And so if there, in fact, is no school or release on that day, we're going to move the professional day to the 11th of March, which is just the next Wednesday, as opposed, because we're also but part of the timing of this is we need to know, because that's the third day of
Yes.
the district-wide PD that we're trying to book the presenters for. And so the last, it's November, January, and March with the district-wide days. So all the directors, everyone's sort of in a holding pattern until we figure out what's
Yep.
happening in March, just because we have to book the PD for March. But we would move it to the 11th, is the
Okay.
short answer. Sorry.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nope, that makes sense. All right, thank you. Do people think they have a thought of what they want to do for this day? Or-
So student safety is very important.
Mhm.
The clerk is asking us to do this. I think we should cancel probably for all of the buildings.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
And then it adds so it adds one day, so the last day of school, the 180th day then would be June 16th, and if we had 185, it would be June 23rd. Does someone want to make a motion?
No,
to?
I
Oh, or- go
have
ahead.
an opinion.
Sure.
That differs a little bit. That we do a late start per the majority of the teachers' idea, and that we educate the populace about this by flooding Facebook and however other means of communication possible. And
Well, I
that
think
we
that
don't
can't
set
be
a
our
precedent.
job, though. So I think that's the only thing, like, that would have to be the town clerk would have to,
Sure.
right. But I don't know that,
So,
Right.
yeah, so, I mean, habits can change. And that we don't incur the added expense. And we just,
well, I think if we cancel school, there's not an added expense. There's only an added expense if one or two schools have to go another day
okay.
and the other schools don't.
oh, okay.
So,
Because we're paying for buses for 181 days as opposed to 80
Gotcha.
days.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I hear the suggestion that the schools are closed, not just the 2 schools, but all?
All of them.
All 6? Got it.
yes. Because that, and then that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
there's no additional cost if you do that, and it's, the calendar is a lot more, makes more sense for those people who have kids at elementary and middle and maybe even all 3, high school as well. That can make it difficult for folks.
I can support the closing, but I think we should anticipate that we will be closed in November as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that maybe we look at considering doing something for a full-day teacher development day, or a way of using that time to be productive. If it buys us some, or it allows us to have more time during the school year
Mhm.
for achieving things that we've always been wanting to do.
Mhm.
But that's next year.
Right. And just to be clear, that the March and November, they are 2 different school years. So, yeah, so they're different calendar years. So we're not adding 2 days at
Right.
the end. Right. Well, does someone want to make a motion, and then we can,
I'll make a motion
okay.
to accept the town clerk's recommendation to close Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, for the presidential primary.
Do we have a second? Carrie. All right, any discussion? All right, so then all those in favor of the motion to close all schools on primary day, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020,
And make the last day of
and make the last day of school
16th.
the 16th
And
or
the
23rd.
23rd, yeah.
Yep. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Libby, as opposed? Okay. All right, well, the ayes have it, and that's what we will do. She was opposed, yep. All right, June, thank you very much for taking the survey, and appreciate the feedback. I know it's not exactly what the majority had recommended, but I think with the school safety component, yeah, I would agree. All right, thank you very much. All right, we're good. So, so Jamie, we'll leave it to you now to work your professional development magic. All right. Okay, so moving on to new business. Item 7.1 is to hear, and the agenda says an East School, but my understanding is this is all elementary school green team presentation about a water bottle and plastic straw initiative. So, Bev Vernon, would you like to get us started here? So thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you attending and
Wanna fix the
informing
mic
us.
for them?
I think they got it.
Always the technology aspect here.
Oh, yes.
Just bear with us for 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
I think we've established a workaround.
Take breaths, everybody. Take breaths.
Easy tool. There you go. You got it.
About, yep.
Shake it out, that's what you gotta
Shake
do.
it out. You're good. And we'll start with the microphones.
Each CMI, which is so we just switched up to use mine.
There's no sound here, that's for the TV, but it's important that they use it.
So it will work.
Not for sounding, they have to speak up.
Okay, so just speak up.
Yeah.
But you, to use it, to use it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
What should I say? Who's voting?
There we go.
Ah, perfect.
Look for a second there.
It was there a minute ago, I swear.
I'll just I'll just sit in the side chair beside you, Dr. Gallo.
Yeah.
I do not want to sit in your seat.
You get the mic.
All right, there it goes.
Don't touch.
All right. Yeah, no, don't touch it. All right, so I think, just so you know, the microphone doesn't really amplify your voice, but for the people at home who might be watching on TV, that's how they will pick up the sound. So speak nice and loud if you can for the folks behind you, whenever you guys are ready.
You're okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm John Wicki in 3rd grade at East School.
Welcome.
My name is Ian Uterwick. I go to East School. I am in 3rd grade.
My name is Charlotte McViney, and I am in 3rd grade at Plymouth River School. Hello, my name is Caroline Silva. I go to Plymouth River School, and I'm in 5th grade. Hello, my name is Kimya Howell. I'm in 3rd grade, and I go to Foster. My name is Rachel Collette. I'm in 4th grade, and I go to Plymouth River School.
My name is Margaret DeYoung. I'm a 5th grader at East School.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. I met with Principal Keaty and spoke to my fellow students last fall, and now we are here to ask you to help us remove plastic straws and water bottles in all of the elementary schools. These slides will show you that the use of plastic is killing life on our planet. You will be amazed at how bad plastic is for the environment. If we stop using plastic straws and water bottles, we will stop the plastic from doing more damage than it has already done. Please help us save our planet. Here are some of the important facts you should know about plastic. Once in the environment, plastic does not go away. It just breaks into smaller pieces. There is an island of garbage twice the size of the state of Texas in the Pacific Ocean.
This picture shows that way too much plastic ends up on the beaches and oceans. 18 billion pounds. Our community is on the ocean, and we need to be careful to prevent trash from washing up on our beaches. Only 14% of plastic packaging in the world is collected for recycling, and if the rate of plastic use and recycling stays the same, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050.
We think Hingham Public Schools can be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Does Hingham Public Schools want to add plastic to the food chain that can kill birds when they mistake plastic for food? I think not. I would not want up to 12 pizzas at one time in my stomach, and I like pizza. Plastic is everywhere, and it hurts our health and causes an unsightly mess in our water and land. This slide shows that the global production of plastic was very low in 1950, but the line goes up so fast that it is almost straight as the production of plastic explodes. It is expected by 2050 that 18 million tons will be produced. Plastic water bottles are the third most common items found in ocean debris and account for 15% of marine waste. Plastics are forever. They are non-biodegradable. Plastic is a problem in Hingham. These pictures were taken around the transfer station and on a playground at Foster Elementary School. Approximately 100 water bottles are sold each day at each elementary school in Hingham. This accounts for 72,000 water bottles sold each school year in the elementary schools alone. We try to recycle, but the process is not perfect. Wouldn't it be easier to just not have plastic water bottles?
At one lunch, it was counted that 18 were sold, but here are 2 on one tray and only 1 sip was taken before being tossed in the recycle bin. Some students bring them back to their lockers and leave them on a shelf or a counter in their classroom. These are not good practices. Hingham Public Schools can take action by reducing, reusing, and refusing plastic. We, all of us here, will continue to educate our classmates about changing their use of plastic. We will pick up trash for recycling when we see it, bring our own reusable water bottles, and refuse straws when we don't need one. The school committee may be thinking, what can we do instead of water bottles or straws? Students need to drink water and be able to use straws. We have some ideas. It costs only about 5 cents for a paper cup, and even the paper cups will take 20 years to break down in the landfill. But that is better than never for a plastic bottle. The benefits of no plastic water bottles and straws are many. It will likely save on the cost to recycling and stop polluting the environment. You have heard that we sell about 100 water bottles a day at each school. With 180 days in a school year and 4 schools in town, that is 72,000 water bottles each year. 72,000 is hard to picture, so I saved all the plastic for 1 week and brought it here to show you. I bring a reusable water bottle to school every day, and so do my friends. We can make excuses for why we can't do this, but I can bring my own water bottle to lunch, and if you stop selling water bottles at school, so will my friends. I want to make a difference in my community. I want to make sure that my future and the future of all my friends, classmates, fellow students, and family, and you have a healthy and beautiful environment. Help us protect the world we live in. The earth is our home. Do you want to be polluting it? Be a part of making this change. Remove plastic water bottles and make straws available on request in the elementary cafeterias. Thank you so much for listening and your time. We'll try to answer any questions you may have.
That was a really, really well-done presentation. It brought the issue to our attention, and it gave us some ideas to think about. It made us laugh. It made us think. It was really, really well done. You guys did a wonderful job, so congratulations. That was really a terrific presentation. There may be some questions. Do you folks have any questions for the students or comments? Ness?
Do you guys know if there are filtration systems in each of the schools? Does anybody know? I know PRS has it.
I think there are.
Are there?
Yeah, PRS has 2, one in the lunchroom and one in the 5th grade wing. So PRS definitely has them.
Yeah.
All right.
We could find that out.
Yep, so we can, all right. Anybody else?
So before I came here, I came from a graduation party, and I did post some of the high school students, and they all sided with you. So I want to commend each and every one of you at such a young age, taking a stand. Keep it up. And just want to thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And they already changed. So all the school committee have listened to you. See that?
Yes, I am.
We do this every week.
Yeah, very rarely. So, thank you so much. So, I think that there is probably some work that we need to do to see about making this happen. We'll need to talk to our Director of Business Services. We'll need to speak to the Director of Food Services and come up with some solutions that we can do. Yes, go ahead.
At our school, we presented about our presentation, and we asked some kids to sign if they would like to get rid of plastic bottles and straws. And so these are all the kids that wanted to ban plastic, so it may just be us here, but they're
Mhm.
one with us.
Yeah. No, that is, thank you. That is very impressive. So clearly this is something that is very important to not only you folks in your generation, but ours as well. But we do thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I think it's something that has been maybe percolating in the back of the committee's mind and the administration's as well. But sometimes it takes people to come before us and remind us of what is in the back of our mind that should be up to the front of our mind, so that we can think about it and work out on a solution that will be helpful to all of us, you students, the community, and the whole planet. We do have go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you too. That was excellent. love that you're all working together across the schools too, and so if you could keep reaching out, and as Mrs. Ayer said, we have some homework to do with this, but in the meantime, could you just keep doing what you're doing and to encourage your friends to, bring their water bottles to school? They're reusable ones, and,
Right.
and don't take a straw unless you need to. Changing behavior takes time, and it's not just about changing the rules. So if you could just keep doing what you're doing, I think it's going to be we can make some real change.
Yeah, we could definitely make some
And
real change.
remind your moms and dads. too.
Right.
Because you saw those by the transfer station, all those bottles. That wasn't you guys. That was other people in town. So we need to remind everybody in town to take on this initiative.
Right.
But thank you. So they're watching at home.
Yes.
So people saw you at home, so they know.
Yep, so they'll know. Yes.
Also, when we were planning this, we talked about how if someone has disabilities and they need a straw, then they can have a straw on request.
Perfect. Okay, so that was your proposal, was to have straws available, but just upon request.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, yes.
So instead of plastic straws, we can use paper straws for people who don't need one.
Mm-hmm, okay.
We could also use metal straws that people, if people are bringing lunch, they could bring metal straws to school instead of plastic straws.
Okay.
There's this little straw that you can buy. It comes in a packet like that big, and it's plastic. The packet is plastic, and it folds up, and you can just pull it out and use it as a straw. And it's reusable, and it fits in I keep it with me in my backpack or in my lunchbox because I don't like using straws. So it's called a final straw.
Final straw, okay. That's good to know. No, those are great ideas, and I think maybe some of the things, too, is that I think our PTOs will need to rethink about some of the things that they do for fundraisers and when they're offering, at events, when they're offering water bottles and beverages for folks, like at the concession stand at the high school. But perhaps that can be part of their fundraising effort. They could sell things like reusable water bottles and metal straws and things like that to replace what is there, or use paper cups at the concession stand. So that's great. So we will take all this information in, and we will discuss with the administration what next steps we can make to get this to the forefront of our agenda. Mrs. Nee is the chair of our policy subcommittee, so if this would be a policy matter, we'll take it up in the policy subcommittee, and then they'll make a recommendation to the full school committee, and we will have a decision on this, hopefully very shortly. All right?
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Really very well done. Very impressive. And folks are free to stay for the rest of the meeting, but do not feel that you have to. So it's not rude to leave after your own presentation. But we do have a great presentation coming up on METCO. We'll give a minute to... Thank you.
So cute. That's so cute.
It was really good. They did a great job.
What are you doing? Right. Time flies when you have fun.
And then sometimes I still wish I had them, and I'm not in the habit of it yet, but I'm gonna. Chopsticks and a metal straw.
Where'd Jamie go? I was like, where'd Jamie go?
I have one. Do you use? Yeah, we have silicone ones.
And
Oh, where did it just go? Oh, okay. Well, I'm starting without him. Huh? All right. Are we ready? I think so. All right. Carols, are you ready? Yes. Okay, terrific. All right. Thank you. Figured we'd give it a moment to clear the room a little bit. So item 7.2 on our agenda is to hear a presentation from METCO CEO Milly Arbaje-Thomas. Thank you. I'm going to have Carol Perez introduce Milly to us all. And I'm not sure if everyone knows, but for folks in the audience who may not know, Carol Perez is our METCO director for Hingham Public Schools. She has been here for this is her first school year here. And Carol's is also a graduate of the Hingham Public Schools through the METCO program, and we are so happy that she is back with us. I think that's an unbelievably unique perspective that you bring to the district and to the students, so we're so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. So I just quickly wanted to say thank you to everyone that has supported me and the community throughout my first year, and with that, I introduce you guys to the CEO of METCO headquarters, Milly Arbaje-Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. I was hoping we had a big crowd.
I
I'm going to get these kids, and they're going to really, work with me on this. But this is really great. It was nice to hear that, so I can have my daughter start the same thing in Brooklyn.
Oh, perfect.
So, my name is Milly Arbaje-Thomas. I've been on the job for since February.
Sorry, Milly. Milly, I'm so sorry. Can we just?
The
TV will get you if you speak.
Just for the TV.
Okay.
Everybody out there will.
It'll be okay.
the
Let's
TV
see, because
Sorry.
I'm.
have a big audience.
All right. Where? Okay. So, I usually like to move around, but I'll try to stay like this. Or does the mic work for them as well?
That one does.
The
If you want to use the
portable?
handheld mic, you can use that one.
We'll start with this. So
Okay.
I started on the job last February, so maybe a year and 3-4 months so far on the job. And I'm also a METCO mother. My kids go to the Brookline school system. I have an eighth grader and a fifth grader in there. My background has been 20 years in nonprofit work in Boston. I spent 20 years overseeing 3 nonprofits over there that are anti-poverty work. It's called ABCD, Action for Boston Community Development, and that is where I spend the majority of my life managing nonprofits, building programs, raising money, building partnerships, and very happy to be here now doing the METCO program. I never thought that when I was a METCO mother, when I applied, when I was literally 3 days out of the hospital, did not know that I would be here overseeing the organization on a state level. So I'm very excited about having that perspective that my children are going through the program, that I'm a parent in the program. So I've been able to see firsthand some of the things that I think we can do to really make the METCO program really strong. I'm excited to be at school committees as my favorite audience to go. I've actually been on a listening tour for the last year, and school committees for sure are my favorite audiences because this is where the decisions happen. These are the people that have to approve, the continuations of program like this. And I know that every so many years there's a changeover in leadership, and it's important for people to understand where the program came from, where it's going, so that you yourself can also feel proud of being a METCO community. So hopefully that's what I will hope to portray today. We're going to start off talking about the mission of the METCO program, how it works, what is new from this headquarters model. There's a lot of new things that we started to do now since I got there. Before, we were known as just the enrollment place where people would come and apply and refer them out to the districts, and that was the majority of the function of our central office. So now with this model of being a headquarters, we are trying to hold ourselves accountable to being able to do a lot more to support our 33 districts across the state. And then we'll end with what does it mean for you to be a METCO district, and how can suburbs do something above and beyond to make the program even stronger. So I like to start with this video because for those of you that may not know the history, this is a video that was put together in Needham Public Schools. So everything you're going to see there's from Needham. That is because Natalie Guthrie is actually an alumni from the METCO program and a current parent of a METCO student, and she works at Needham High School as a videographer. So for a year long, she took on this video that if you ever want to do something here, it's an hour-long documentary. Don't worry, it's not an hour today, okay? It's an hour-long documentary that they did on the whole METCO program and the experience, and they used it last year as part of their 50th anniversary, and they went to their auditorium at the high school. All the community and the entire community was invited, and school leadership had a panel afterwards with Q&A. So that, so if anybody's interested in that, that's something that we can do. But I asked her to do maybe 9 minutes of that video for us and condense it for when I go out to the field. So hopefully everything works, right? Is there Wi-Fi here?
There should be Wi-Fi.
Okay.
should be okay, it's just the volume.
In 1960 in America, a new house
How does that not
cost
playing
about
over there?
$12,000. The average car cost about $3,000, and a gallon.
So how come it's not playing there?
I don't know. Let me just.
Okay.
Technology.
We get a volunteer.
I know, we always need IT.
I think it's because it's embedded, so now if we go.
Carols, do you have the information to pass down to them in the meantime? So we have a brochure that we just finished creating, a pin to make you feel proud, this is METCO Works, and also a one-pager that talks about the benefits of integration.
In 1960 in America, a new house cost about $12,000. The average car cost about $3,000, and a gallon of gas only 25 cents. See, life was pretty easy.
What about that mic? What about that mic?
Well, for some people.
This is not working.
This was the national landscape in which the METCO program was birthed. A nation ripe with racism, full of misguided intention, and ready to burst. In the early 60s, Boston parents were becoming increasingly frustrated.
We're just going to take a brief pause.
Okay.
Will I find
Make it
Will I
work.
find a plug?
The other side.
The other side?
And I also want to thank Carol for making this meeting happen. She's been
Yeah,
working on it for
I
a
need
couple
makeup.
of months, trying to get into your schedules and my schedules and making this happen. So thank you, Carol, for making that happen.
Try next time.
Sensitive funding, we should be okay.
Hope so. Thank you for your patience. Hit play?
Yeah, you should be letting play.
Let's see.
The
Yes.
environment in the city at that time was defined by the ugliness that surrounded Boston's busing controversy, echoes of which still linger today.
What happens in the 1960s is first parents are upset with the quality of education their children are receiving. And schools are old. In some cases, the schools were built before the Civil War. They're inadequate. Certain parts of the city are growing, particularly the black community. The black population in Boston is really expanding in the 50s, early 60s. So these neighborhoods are really growing. They see their kids are in really crowded schools, inadequate textbooks, and so on. And so they see this as part of a broader problem in the society.
The schools in the black community, because we were segregated, you would think you were in different countries. There was a man who gave money to the school system so every teacher could buy books. We never saw them in the black community.
So the school committee isn't going to do anything. The legislature steps in and passes the Racial Imbalance Act.
The Racial Imbalance Act of 1965 is the legislation passed by the Massachusetts General Court, which made the segregation of public schools illegal in Massachusetts. These racially imbalanced schools were required to desegregate according to the law or risk losing their state educational funding.
The only two communities in the Commonwealth to which this would apply, that is where there could be schools racially imbalanced, are Springfield and Boston. And the delegations from both Springfield and Boston are opposed to the Racial Imbalance Act because it seems to be targeting them. So this is really what's behind Operation Exodus, which is the precursor to the METCO program. It is a parent-led grassroots movement.
Amid the backdrop of the civil rights movement, Boston parents were not the only ones who had concerns for their children's future. While residents in Boston were fueled by a desire for their children to have better educational opportunities, Some families in the suburbs began to see the need for their children to integrate with children of color.
The Racial Imbalance Act also has a provision for having children from these schools go to schools outside the district in towns that will be receptive to them. So this is really the beginning of METCO. So there's a problem in Boston with the imbalance of schools, and then there's the outside of Boston, there are fewer people of color. And some of these towns, in the wake of the Racial Imbalance Act, the Civil Rights Act, recognize the racial disparities in the country, and here you have parents who really are motivated about having their kids get a better education, so do open their schools up to students from Roxbury, Dorchester, students of color.
In fact, in 1964, the Brookline Civil Rights Committee asked the Brookline School Committee to accept Boston black children. And as Operation Exodus came to an end, the grassroots initiative birthed a new program, METCO. Initially, METCO included the towns of Brookline, Lexington, Newton, Wellesley, Braintree, Arlington, and Lincoln. However, soon after, other communities began to follow suit.
METCO is still relevant today because segregation still exists. Our towns are more segregated today than they were when the actual METCO program started. You have all these pockets of communities that are very isolated and they don't really interact with one another. So as long as everybody in your school system looks pretty much like you, the METCO program is needed. When people are educated in the same classroom, they break down their own stereotypes of one another and then give each other an opportunity. And that is what the METCO program does. It builds friendships and it actually breaks down racial barriers.
METCO, or the Metropolitan Council for Educational Opportunity, is a voluntary integration program that provides a suburban public school education for minority students from Boston and Springfield. METCO is the longest continuously running voluntary school desegregation program in the country. In the past 10 years, increased efforts have been made to have the METCO program better reflect the diversity of Boston Public Schools.
The program looks different, and so when people have these conceptions about METCO, they think of METCO from when it first started. And as I said, it was a predominantly sort of African-American driven program. We also have students that are Latino, so it's not even always Afro. You know, the qualification for METCO is that a student lives in the city of Boston and that they are of, you know, a racial minority.
Students that enroll in this program, the majority of them enroll in, their parents are committed to this. Their parents are willing to work hard to make sure that their children get there, to work with them and ensure that they do as well as they possibly can in the district.
There's a certain level of trust that parents have to have with a district, with METCO staff, with educators, to put your 5-year-old on a school bus in the morning to leave their community to go be educated by folks that they're going to get to know, but maybe not folks that are their neighbors that would have been at their neighborhood school. There is an extreme amount of trust that families are putting in the district to do right by their students.
About 90% of METCO students go on to post-secondary education. Once again, this is above the statewide average and far higher than the corresponding rates for Boston and Springfield. A waiting list of about 10,000 students translates into a 2 to 5 year wait to get into the program, allowing the program to place no more than 350 to 400 new students each year.
This is a wonderful opportunity for our children to experience the diversity that exists in the world. Now, you can give lectures and read books about diversity, but it's much better if you actually experience it.
Whenever you can have diversity of thought in your community, that's important. People bring, and one of the things that we really encourage our Boston resident families to do is bring who they are to the community. And getting different viewpoints, getting people's different perspectives on life is important in terms of a good education.
The benefit really flows both ways because Needham isn't the most diverse community naturally, so we add some diversity to the community, but we also, it's also diversity of experience. If you think about the fact that someone lives in the city, forget it for a moment whether they're, black or Asian or Hispanic, but they live in the city. They grow up in a very different world. They get up early, they come to school, then they go back to another community, whereas we're in a suburban community. So that by itself adds some experiences.
When Boston resident students have the opportunity to integrate a school district seemingly devoid of color, it does bring up other issues. METCO students often find themselves in classes where they are the only students of color, and are often integrated in school districts in which nearly a quarter are greater than 90% white, with only 5 less than 70% white.
It puts like a wall up, because like I can say something to her that I can't say to them, and it's like I'm trying every time I'm talking to them to like make sure I watch exactly what I say, so it's hard to make that like connection.
I mean, Needham is just a part of this country, and so yes, we do have issues, and we deal with them as they come. We are very fortunate here in Needham that we have a large, comparatively large METCO staff. So we're in the schools all the time, and have worked really hard to build relationships with principals and with teachers and guidance, so that when these issues do happen, because they will happen, that we can approach them and we can deal with them in a real way.
METCO is basically a way to prepare kids for the real world. And the real world isn't all white and all black and all male and all female. It's everybody working together to make this world a better place when you leave it.
Things have happened to students, METCO students, Needham students, that involve race and that involve who one is or what they look like. I think what I'm proud of is that we're willing to say, wait a minute, let's pause, let's reflect on what happened, and how can we develop a plan to move forward so that this problem doesn't recur, and that we can all learn from it and grow from it. I want our students to leave Needham High School after a pre-K through 12 experience where they feel that they've learned about different people, they've learned deeply about themselves, and they now believe that they can impact the world in a very positive way.
And those are the ambassadors who make America what it can be.
The opportunity to bring communities together, the METCO program is one of those opportunities to do that.
Great. Escape. See if I can figure this out on my own. Where's the PowerPoint? This is an Apple, right?
Yeah, it's on the bottom right.
Bottom right. Okay, because I'm not good with Apple. And
Bottom right next to comments with the little screen to the right. No, two more to the right. There you go. Then you should be back. Yeah.
okay, so before I go on, I like to always stop here and get some reflection and just see if there was any questions or thoughts that arose from you from watching the video. And I don't know, do you guys interact with parents when you're here? Or is it just with you guys? I don't know how this works.
It's usually just with
Okay.
us, but
Well, you know, I'm here anyways, guys, if you.
we can have questions at the end. I mean, I think the big thing that I stood out is that the program is beneficial to both sets of students,
Correct.
right? The students from the
Mhm.
suburban school as well as the students coming
Mhm.
in. I mean, that I think comes through really loud and clear.
Very good, yeah, nice. Any other thoughts or questions about the video itself? We'll do some questions later.
Yeah.
Anything that surprised you?
It didn't surprise me, but the reminder of the true history
Mhm.
is always a good thing for everyone
Mhm.
to see and hear and understand that a little bit of it is still with us today, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we make improvements every step of the way, and your initiatives are a big part of that.
Mhm.
So if we can pay more attention to it again, we'll all keep moving a step forward, so.
Very good, very good. Okay. Yes, Carrie.
Just one question. I think I heard in there that there are 350 to 400 students that are part of the program. Is that
No, they join annually.
annually? Okay.
And there's a wait list of about, right now, the wait list is about 8,500.
Okay. Is there any thought about expanding it?
There is, and actually, since I've came on board, about 3 different communities have reached out to me that they want to open up a METCO program. They feel extremely isolated, and that is the reason, as you know, why suburban communities are participating, is because they, they see the value of diversity. They know that they're isolated, so it is voluntary. So they said, I really want my kids to be exposed to a little bit of the real world. The problem is that the money that we have right now is this is all state funded. So you add one more district, to this, and then everybody else gets less money. So right now I'm just trying to get a grasp of what we're going to be doing moving forward to just, really support the districts, to really get the visibility of the history back on board. I mean, that's something that is one of my missions right now, that I like to retell the story, because if people really understand where it came from, out of struggle, out of inequities, out of people are going to be more apt to support it. And my next goal after that is I've already been invited to another school committee, and I forget which, Holbrook was one of them, and I forget the other 2 communities. And in that case, I would be working with those communities to work with the elected officials so that they can then be added to the METCO. But their elected official is gonna have to try to advocate for more funding, because I wouldn't want to take away anything from the existing pool. But right now it's one state line item. But I've been coming up with some creative ideas too in terms of expansion, because some communities, the METCO kids come also with the Chapter 70 money. So the Chapter 70 money follows the child, and their target, they're actually assigned to your school district. But we've never looked at that as a separate funding. When we look at the METCO grant, we only look at the state line item. We've never looked at how much money is coming in through Chapter 70. So that's one idea that I want to bring to new places that are not used to getting the state line item. If you really want diversity, and you want to make some kind of implementation of it, maybe you can at least start off with the Chapter 70 money as a starting point, and also maybe having some families who really want to see this happen, maybe adopt a slot, for the duration of the person's, but they would have to stay financially stable for 18 years, whoever gives the money. So I was thinking about those couple of creative ways to do it. The majority of the cost right now for the program is transportation, because the kids have to get here, and every single district has a METCO director just to oversee the program. So that is the minimum requirement to have a METCO program.
I just want to say that I had the privilege of attending your reception when you were...
I was going to say, you look so familiar. Right. Yes, Carlos. Okay.
That's the last year.
Yeah.
I'm glad, too, that before Carol's came, Andrew did a beautiful presentation, and we learned so much about how much the kids, sacrifice to come to the, to our town and surrounding area, where they are traveling for a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm very pleased that in Hingham we are actually doing as much as we can to support your program. We just got, some money to purchase a bus, and that's in progress. And not only that, we also agree that we'll be adding one more student in the next 3 years, I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
We set a goal of going from 40 to 50. We were very overcrowded, 10 or more years ago. So we had 40 students for a long time, and then we set a goal 2 directors ago to get it up to 50 students. And where are we really going to end up this year, Carol?
For 2019. Will be at 50-30. Yes.
Which is a great thing. So
great.
I'm pleased,
That's a full
I'm pleased
bus.
that we are making that effort. And just to finalize, I'm pleased that our chair, Michelle, added one member of the school committee as a liaison to METCO. So we'll be hearing even
great.
more issues. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. Not a lot of people are doing that.
I'm sorry.
I had 2 of us do it, but.
That's great. That's great. All right, so I'm going to keep going with the presentation in case we have some Q&A afterwards. So 52 years of a legacy before and today. Just a little reminder that this, the main mission of METCO is to address racial segregation and racial isolation in the suburbs, racial segregation in Boston, and so that kids can study together in a public school setting. One of the things that I'm working really hard on right now, and I'm sorry, let me know if I'm talking too fast, because I know you have a packed agenda, and I want to be able to get through all of this. But one of the things that, that I'm trying to work on right now in terms of messaging is that a lot of people refer to the METCO program as the busting program, and I hate that phrase just because it takes away from the impact and everything else. I mean, the bus is the means of how to get there, but, I'm talking about trying to change people's minds to this kind of movement, bringing people together from diverse backgrounds with the hope that together stereotypes, racism, discrimination, can be reduced, and that our own children can actually prepare for a better tomorrow, especially in the political climate that we're in right now, that a lot of groups are, having an increase of incidents happening as it relates to race relations. So that's the kind of movement that I'm talking about, and I'm trying to relive that history of the grassroots movement, but it starts with parents coming together to bring their children together, because kids, like my daughters will remind me every day, kids cannot plan their own play dates without a parent involved. So every time I try to tell something to my daughter about the play date, she always reminds me, well, I can't do it without you, so you're going to have to get involved when she tries to do too many of them. This is the kind of movement that we're talking about, basically to appreciate diversity and break down barriers, to learn together through a shared experience, and to prepare for the global world. Like Jean McGuire said, our previous director, that the whole world doesn't look a specific way. I think it does a great thing for our students of color, that it actually, I've heard a lot of our students say that they feel prepared to enter the workforce at high-level jobs because their whole life they've been educated around white students. So when they actually go to those same settings, they don't feel intimidated, because they spend their whole life preparing for that, and vice versa for the white students. And also, if they encounter a person of color, they're not too shocked, and they're able to embrace that as well. Right now, this is where all our districts are. Right, we have two districts. One district that is the largest, which is Newton, and then following that, from 200 to 300 is Lexington and in Brookline, and then the rest you can see there, and it's also in your brochure. This is right here just to show you what the breakdown of Boston is. We're trying to send a representative class. One of the things that I'm doing right now in terms of going online is trying to send a diversity that's kind of mixed, so that the people in Hingham can truly experience the diversity of Boston. And as you can see, 90% of the population here is white, so really kind of shows the value of the METCO program. Even in a small bit, the METCO program is making a difference in a distribution like this. The funding formula, just for those of you that are not familiar, a lot of people sometimes think that the program actually is all paid for by the district, and it's not. A lot of people, unless you're like in the school committee looking at budgets, they think that, and I've seen some people even say something in their local news, in their local newspaper, talk about stop using our taxpayers' dollars for the METCO program, and they don't really understand that the program does come with a state line item. There's a per pupil allocation for every single student that comes to the district. Then there's a transportation allocation, and then there's a Chapter 70 money, and if someone is designated as ELL or special ed, there's also additional funds that come with that as well. And those four pockets of money make the total reimbursement for a METCO student. Right now, for Hingham, it's about $8,000 that is coming in, again, because we're counting the Chapter 70, and we don't know who qualifies for ELL or special ed, so that would be potentially more. We do understand that sometimes the per pupil allotment per district is much higher, but we are what we call a marginal seat program, meaning that there is not an expectation to open up a new classroom to hire a new teacher. Therefore, existing structures already exist, and when Carol's comes to get folders, it's literally by sections. Which school has maybe 18 students in 4th grade or in kindergarten, where we can insert 2 other students to have a full class. So we try to be as disruptive as possible, because we know we're a marginal seat program, and this is why it's not always the expectation that you're ever going to get like the full amount. That's what the marginal seat program means. News from headquarters, we actually are working on 4 areas right now. So one of the first things that I did when I came on board was do a strategic plan with my board of directors, and we came up with 4 areas that we want to focus on for the future of the METCO program. One is becoming a leader in multiple dimensions, and that means, in school integration, in school diversity, anything that has to do with our mission and what we're about. We want to be a leader nationally on this, and we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing about that. We definitely want to have a fundraising arm arm and not depend only on state line items. We want to increase our communication and engagement, and we want to improve and grow our internal practices and what we provide in Boston so that our kids, when they come home, also have another home base to receive support. So in terms of the area of METCO is leadership in multiple dimensions. We hired our first ever Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We've never had this position before, and I figured if we're a desegregation program, we might want to have a diversity expert on house, you know. So she started this past January. She's doing really great work. She's been going to a lot of the districts to do professional development, mostly only with leadership, like with teachers, with principals, with administrators. And we have a conference coming up that I hope you guys have been sharing. It's called Living the Legacy. Again, trying that whole message about bringing and reminding people how we started so that people can really be recommitted to the goals of the program. And that's coming up in June. And it's our first ever conference that we're doing from headquarters, because the METCO Directors Association always does one in December, and that's a separate entity. But for METCO itself, we're doing one that's going to talk about the roots of the program, and then what can we do to become not just an inclusive environment, because we already know that the inclusion is happening because the kids are there. So our focus now is how to create a welcoming environment, because we know the inclusion has already happened, but you will see that not a lot of kids feel like they actually belong. So a culture of belonging and welcoming. So that's what that kind of things that she's working on. She's also been involved in all the hiring of all of the recent METCO openings and all of districts. She's been part of the hiring committee, and she is also talking to the communities that have racial justice groups, and also going there to really, talk to the racial justice community around, how they understand the METCO program. And also, if a racial incident happens, she can be there to stand with the district to ensure that we have a united front. Also in the leadership part, there is probably less than 6 left school desegregation programs in the nation that are voluntary, and there's 3 of them that are right here in the Northeast. One is in upstate New York, one is in Connecticut, and then the one here in Boston. I have a monthly call with the leaders of those 3 school districts, and we actually are sharing best resources and practices on how we can stay, sustainable for the years to come. I'm also sitting on the Racial Imbalance Advisory Committee for the state with the new commissioner, and we have someone that is actually a professor of economics who's doing the first real robust research. We've had a lot of books out there. We've had a lot of great researchers, like The Other Busing Story. We have a lot of documentaries. We have a movie now on Netflix called On the Line. I mean, a lot of people pick up METCO for research, but no one has actually looked at what Elizabeth is looking at. So we're going to be having something in the fall to invite districts to come and hear about the state of METCO. She's going to be looking not only at graduation rates of high school and going into college, which everybody has looked at that. She's going to be looking at what types of colleges, what careers, college graduation rates. She's going to be looking at marital data to see if people have actually gone into interracial marriages. She's going to be looking into so many incredible things that we've never looked at before. And she's also going to be looking at the incidence of our students of color being put on IEPs. Are they coming in with an IEP, or are they being actually put on IEPs when they get here because of maybe lack of understanding on behavior? So she's going to be looking at some real deep things, and she's going to be looking at the MCAS questions that talk about racial attitudes in your district and seeing if a METCO community has a better score under racial attitudes than a non-participating METCO community. So she's really looking at, and she's going to also be looking at what people are, income brackets for our students as well. So this is like no one has ever gone this deep with the METCO program. We've also have our new communication and engagement director, Colin Stokes. For some of you might be getting some of this. I've been trying to get emails from people that want to be on our mailing list, and he's been doing all of our communication. And one of the things that we are working on is we have a revamped website that's brand new, brochures, pins, social media. We're just really on all of the communications means. We're doing everything that we can to tell the story. We've been on the news a lot. We were just on Channel 25 last week. We were in Boston Magazine last week. There was a documentary that won a local Emmy Award from Bedford as well for putting a short film documentary on the METCO program. So there's a lot of media coverage that we're doing right now to retell the story and get people excited. One of the things that he's working on is what you guys might remember as the the host families here from maybe from back in the day. So we're trying to change the name of that program and calling it the Family Exchange Program, so that it's a dual purpose. Again, coming back to the reasons of the mission of the program, that it needs to be a two-way street. So we are working on creating blueprints for things that can be replicable in all of the districts. What does it take to have a family exchange? What does it take to have a Friends of METCO program that raises money locally? He's also trying to reach all of the alumni. We just bought a software called Alumni Finder. We have over 10,000 of them doing extremely well, and we know that they can help to support the expansion of the METCO program. And then METCO Presents are some theater events that we are doing with a funder, where we are going to Arts Emerson, which is the Paramount and the Majestic Theater downtown Boston, and picking shows that are only race related, whether, you know, that are thought provoking, and inviting our suburban and urban communities to come together to socialize through the art, but always followed by a discussion after the film. So that's one of our new initiatives to try to get people excited about it again. So I just mentioned those things there. We have a new newsletter that's called Diversity Matters. We have Milly's Monday METCO Message. I call it the MMMM. So every Monday we send this out. So if you're interested in receiving that, that only goes to school leaders, and it's only about big level stuff that we're working on. And then all of the things in the last year, this is just a fraction of all the things that have been covered since I started. We've been on the Atlantic, we've been on the radio, we've been All Things Considered. We've had three Boston Globe front page stories, so lots of stuff going on. And that is how you follow us. Everything is METCO Inc. HQ. METCO is improving. We're trying to have efficiency with our application process by going online. We're trying to support our families in deeper ways and build some partnerships. So this is, you wouldn't really appreciate this too much, maybe Carol's, because she's been there before, but the office was in really bad shape. It wasn't even presentable. So we got Blue Cross Blue Shield donated all this furniture, and we were able to throw everything away and at least have places that look presentable and welcoming. We hired a new director of enrollment, and we are now taking all of our files and going online. So this coming year, people will apply on schoolmint.com, and they will apply online for the METCO program in multiple languages on their cell phones, and no more trips to the office unless you really want to. Again, that is part of the idea of trying to reach as many neighborhoods as possible and as much diversity as possible. Historically, the METCO program is only a word of mouth. We've never done any advertisements, and it's been really mostly legacy families, people that have gone through the programs that just come, that continue to come. We never really had to go out there, so we want to be truly representative of Boston's today. So beginning in the fall, students will apply online. There would be an open-ended application period. Right now, it's like forever. You can kind of apply whenever you want as a baby. Now it's going to be just school age and only for 3 months a year. Then we run a lottery, and then from there we will be doing whatever process every district does for selection. But that's going to just really get us more modernized. A lot of the researchers and funders are very excited about this. They've actually said that the way that our program has been running has not helped them to really prove that the results of the METCO program are really randomized, and it doesn't have to do maybe with who you know, or maybe, the connections that you have, or what kind of parents it's attracting. So this kind of randomization is going to be a very big deal for research. It's going to really say that whoever is coming through the program, whatever success they have is truly merited to the METCO program. In terms of academic support, we have a small after-school program in-house for those students that are struggling. We communicate directly with the teachers. We have our summer school that's only academics. We hired only licensed teachers. They come to school with us for 5 weeks full-time, only receiving academic support. So again, we're trying to level the playing field and make sure that our kids can keep up with what's happening over here. We also hired 2 social workers of color that our students can relate to. We've been very fortunate with all of these scholarships are all brand new since I started here. The Island School is to study abroad in the Bahamas for studying marine life. This just tells you a little bit about how more people are looking for integrated experiences. So these agencies, these institutions here all came to us and said, we realize that our incoming class is too white, and we don't know where to find some students of color that can that are comfortable around white people and being the minority. So somebody mentioned METCO, and it's just been the new else has been traveling, and now they gave us a full scholarship to spend the summer in the Bahamas for $10,000. Southern New Hampshire University just gave us a 4-year scholarship with room and board for AIMS. It's called the METCO scholarship. And then also in the city of Boston, we never were able to get access to our resources locally because they were always saying that, oh, you have resources in the suburbs. You guys don't go to Boston Public Schools, but we were able to broker that to consider our kids are, as if they went to Boston, and now they can take advantage of the free college tuition program as well and go to community college for free, then transfer to a 4-year college, and all of that would be for free if you are of certain income, not super low income, but also not high income either. We started something brand new that starts tomorrow. This is one of my babies that I really love because METCO University is something new that I started, and it's basically an opportunity for our METCO families to remain engaged in Boston. We realize that sometimes it's hard, including for me that I'm in Brooklyn, so I am literally up the street, but sometimes, I can't make it to all the meetings that happen, all the workshops, all of the things that are happening locally for families really early or late at night. So we're opening up our METCO University to provide workshops on diversity, on how to prepare your students for integration, on how to help your child succeed, how to secure college funding, how to deal with middle school years. All those workshops that most of the communities offer, we're going to have it in Boston as well. Tomorrow is our first beginning. The Boston Foundation is paying for this one, and it's basically a parenting class for the incoming kindergarteners. So it's a way to really prepare. One of the things that I want to do as a headquarters is just not only place, but support our students, before and during their academic experience. So the incoming class of for kindergartners are coming starting tomorrow with their families. In one room, the families will be receiving parenting classes. In the other room, they will be working with Jump Start to work on literacy and math skills, and that would be for 12 weeks before they actually start here. So that starts tomorrow. We also have our first ever fundraising director. We're working on a lot of major grants right now. We've never utilized our 501c3 status, our nonprofit status. We never used to apply for grants, so now we're putting up a lot of grants out there to support the things that we want to do. We definitely want to have mentoring for our kids, and what we're trying to do is actually find the alumni and that they've gone through that, and then see if they can be mentors for our students, because very few students of color have a mentor that's of color. So that's something that we really want to do. We want to prepare kids for college, academic support, do more diversity, all those things that you've heard me mention. Right now, some of the things that we're doing in terms of fundraising, last year when I first came on, the first thing that I worked on was at the State House, and I really trying to get to know as many of our elected officials as possible, and we secured last year our first $1.5 million increase in 10 years. To the METCO program. Right now we have the House has already gotten the $1.5 million in the House. In the Senate now we're going into conference committee. So if you know your elected officials, guys, and you are involved, this is going to conference this week. And then as many of you guys that can call and say, I need METCO to get the 1.5 for all the new things that it's doing and to increase our capacity, I really urge you, because you guys are the most important voices, because you live here and you vote for these elected officials. But the Senate did not give us the 1.5, the House did, so you really want to focus on your senators, and now they're going into conference committee. But if we walk out of this with another 1.5, that's going to be huge, because I don't remember the last time in METCO's history with 2 years in a row we got 1.5. But that's because also the legislature, just so you know, has been asking for a lot of changes at headquarters throughout the last couple of years. So now that they're seeing that there's some things happening and there's more transparency, and more communication, now they feel like they want to give more. At the welcoming reception, we just try to make any time that we do any event now, we try to make it a fundraising event. So we had that where Carlos went, where I met him, the welcoming reception. We raised $11,000 that day, and it was just a welcome reception to say welcome to me. And I'm like, okay, who else can give money? So we did $11,000. The Summer Arts Institute gave us $57,000. That is all the arts initiatives. So be looking out for that. It's always on our website, and you should join our website as well. And we can always invite you, and you can come with your METCO family friends. The Boston Foundation gave us our first grant, and we have 2 AmeriCorps volunteers that are starting in the fall. One is going to be the alumni engagement to work on the alumni with the mentoring program, and we're going to be using the platform for Big Brother, Big Sisters to really do a legitimate mentoring program. And we have this other great thing that I'm super excited about, is that, again, talking about the legacy, when I was talking to one of the elected officials, he was saying, of color, he was saying that he was really upset that the MLK monument that's coming to Boston is going to end up in the Boston Commons, and that we just lost another opportunity to bring people to our inner city communities. And why didn't we put it in Roxbury, in Mattapan, in Dorchester, where MLK spent a lot of his time when he was here studying at BU? So out of that came the idea that we should probably start a neighborhood tour of the civil rights movement in Boston that incorporates all of the neighborhoods where our kids come from, utilizing our own METCO students to do the research, to go to the archives in Boston where all of our history lies, and then to have a stipended, after school, for high schoolers position where they can do this with the intention that they would then come back and we would have buses coming from the suburbs to Boston to take advantage of this civil rights tour that will end with a dialogues on diversity. And that is one of the goals that we're going to try to do, to really get the suburbs to also do the dual back and forth. So those are the 2 full-time positions and what they're going to be working on as 2 new initiatives. In terms of what you can do to make the METCO program better here in your community, making sure that you are honoring the METCO legacy by striving to have a model of inclusion and equity, advocate with your local state reps to get the increase in money, and make sure that you subscribe to all of our newsletters and social media so that you can participate in all of these events that we're trying to do for integration. You can increase diversity at all levels, meaning, with teachers and school officials. You can join families from across the region for our annual Advocacy Day on the Hill and make sure that Hingham is represented, and come out to one of our METCO Presents events. You can create or sustain your current, if you don't have it here, but create or sustain a family exchange program for the interdistrict support. You can organize a Friends of METCO program, which is the fundraising arm. A handful of our METCO districts have a Friends of METCO, and they raise money for late transportation, summer scholarships, and anything that the METCO director needs as an additional support. So again, we're trying to create a blueprint for both the exchange and the METCO Friends of METCO program, because too many people are doing little variations of it, but nobody's doing it like exactly the, some basic support. So we want to give people those tools. And you already invited me to be here to talk about sharing our story. Support your METCO director and staff so that they have what they need to succeed. Help connect METCO with partners who are willing to help serve our students and advance our mission. I think, we can speak for the whole program, when you have a partner that's willing to, do something else, and then tell the story of METCO's history to inspire other people to make the best of it. So that is the ask of the suburban partners, and together we are better. Always end with my little thing.
Thank you very much. Really informative. Do any folks have any questions I'll take from the committee first.
And I have my water.
Okay.
Came prepared.
Reusable bottle. Might have warned you ahead of time. Liza.
Thank you very much. It's really amazing what you've done in a short period of time.
Thank you.
It's exciting. As far as outreach, I thought that the short video was excellent. I saw the movie that Andrew had brought, I forget.
On the line. Okay,
so we
yes.
saw that here, and this was a different version of that, but very effective. Are you thinking about, or could you think about, communication to students, so suburban students, to explain the program to them, and so that they understand why are these other
students here,
kids here with us? Because, as you saw earlier, we have very engaged students in our community. But I think that if we could educate the students in their, in their own version of communications, but tell a similar story of the history and why it's good for everyone, that would maybe have the students be more welcoming and want to try and engage with the students,
right.
And really understand why it's good for them to have new friends.
I mean, I think that's a necessary direction for us to take. I mean, that has to be at the district level in terms of like what communities would, like for example, I went to the PTO meeting in Brookline because they invited me, and then I talked to all the parents and talked to them about what role do you play in really being part of this. But, you know, this is really truly a grassroots movement. We have so many people to reach. I mean, just between 33 communities and 190 schools, trying to tell this story to as many people as possible, you know, that is as much as what I'm trying to do. But I think locally, this should be something that at a certain grade, maybe you guys make this like a mandatory little thing, like a 10-minute, you know, 10-minute little movie for, you know, when people begin to understand race or something, you know, and include it as part of the education of our students. But, and also at every single PTO, at least once a year, something like this, even showing the movie alone, it's enough of an impact. But I do think that it has, you know, this is why all these other initiatives that I'm working on is trying to bring people together in the family exchange program, but people have to first get it, right?
Yeah.
And understand and want to be part of it. And I can't be everywhere, so I'm really counting on, you know, as much of the community and the leadership to say, this is something when I'm meeting with all of, you know, at a specific grade. Like, for example, in Brookline, in fourth grade, they have this class called Understanding Differences, and it's led only by the parents, and it's talking about all kinds of differences, like mostly around disabilities, you know, but it's every fourth grader gets it. And it's like a one-time thing, and then parents volunteer, they get a quick little training, they go to every single class, and every single fourth grader gets the same training. So I've been thinking about, is there a way that at a specific grade we can have a script, you know, with a Q&A movie, and then have the parents be the ones actually spreading the word? But I got that idea from this Understanding Diversity in Brookline.
Thank you.
So, Liza, to your point, I was a substitute teacher here in Hingham for 6 years, and it must have been, I think, at least 2 years ago, the foster school was celebrating METCO's 50th reunion here in Hingham, and I was privileged to be there that day, and they had an all-school assembly that there was a movie and people coming to speak, and a real educational experience for all of the students as to why METCO existed and what it meant. And I don't know who was in charge of making that happen.
Probably
but
Andrew, if it was the 50th, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that could happen in all of the schools. And so I just wanted to add, you had asked earlier if we had any impressions from the movie that you showed, and the one thing that really stood out for me was that one student who said, the one METCO student who said, there are things that I can tell my fellow METCO student that I can't say to others.
And watching what they say is called code switching. There's a whole movie right now being done on that for METCO.
Yeah.
Called
so I just
code
want
switching.
to acknowledge how brave they are to come out to the suburbs and be ambassadors for their community, and how much pressure that is, and if we can help to relieve that pressure as much as possible, it would be a good thing. And to thank them and to express my gratitude and my willingness to do whatever we can to make it happen more successfully.
And I'm hoping that with a lot of the funding that I'll be getting, that I can provide a lot of trainings, because I know the budget can only go so far, but the start is this training right now, you know, that we're doing in June. So as many as the teachers that can come, that, you know, that training is really meant to be for the teacher level, because it's like the grassroots teaching about the history of the program, and then how do you have a welcoming environment in your classroom, because there's also the people that are educating our children. So hopefully little by little with all of these initiatives, we'll try to like get the message out as much as possible. But I would love to have, my thing is blueprints. You know, what is it? What 2 or 3 things can we create that every single community will adopt, so that everybody, METCO can look similarly the same to some extent in all the places. So, you know, I love the idea of how do we get our students, because they're the ones that have to embrace the friendship.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no,
So a couple things that I would love some suggestions on. I was part of the PTO at one of the elementary schools, and we had a before-school program that I led, a box program, and I couldn't get some of the kids in the METCO program there because they get there so late, but I think that they would benefit from something like that. And then on the other end, after school, as you mentioned, just trying to set up the play dates. I had my son who's in first grade with one of the METCO students, and he would run up to me and give me a big hug and say, when can we have a play date with Jake? And I said, I will absolutely love to plan that. He gave me his mom's cell phone. I tried reaching out several different times, suggested that I would even go pick him up, I would drop him off. So I'd love some ideas on how we can better make that happen, because I think people are willing to engage and do those things. It's just trying to get the two communities together, the parents of both communities, to make sure that that works out.
And you know, that's also something that's going to be very needed as they get older, because the kids that METCO students don't typically always get to participate in the extracurricular, whether it's sports, whether it's the play, whether it's something happening after school, because they got to get on the bus. And I don't know, Carol, do you have a late bus here? Okay, what time? What time does it leave, the latest one?
The high school, it's however late the students need it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
We're blessed to have that. And then the middle school is at the end of the after school, so at 3 o'clock, the elementary bus will be there.
So, you know, when I've gone around to a lot of the communities, they've told me that if it wasn't for that exchange program or the host, even though I want to call it exchange, the host program, that is how they were able to stay behind to do all of these activities. And as they get older, I've seen so many documentaries where the students said, if it wasn't for my host family, I wouldn't have been able to play a late sport, you know. And I mean, 3 o'clock is just not early enough. My kids all did the school play. That was always over at 5:30 at night. So I always missed the late bus. So I had to always go pick them up. Granted, I'm an exception to the rule. I know that I'm close by, but when you have a demanding job, it was also extremely difficult. I had to call people sometimes to can you help me out? Most of the times, and I'm in an evening meeting, so where can my kid wait, until one of us is available to pick them up? But it was a struggle just to be in the school play.
Right.
Yeah, it was really hard. But I think we need to, again, this is grassroots level. I think the parents, this is why I love the parents here. It has to be the parents reaching out to the Boston families. It takes a lot of trust. I'm telling you, I've been through the same program myself, and I'm going through it. I still don't allow sleepovers. They scare me. I don't know, because I don't know how my kid is going to be treated. You know what I'm saying? It's I don't know. I mean, my kid has to do her hair a certain way because her hair is, is not the same as her friends. So, I think about all of those things. She eats differently, and I don't know.
It happens here in our own town too. So take a deep breath.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of trust, like the video said. So you really have to become friends with that person. The only people that I've allowed into my kid's life, I've had to befriend the parent, because I'm not gonna let my parent, my kids go to anybody. I had one extremely bad experience with a parent who was extremely racist on my first experience when I chaperoned my first field trip ever, and he told me that all Latino women were maids, and that there's nothing discriminatory about that, because that is very true, and that is what all the Latino women, they do. They are housekeepers and maids. And ever since then, I told my daughter, you cannot be with that girl. She asked me if she can hang out with her. I said, there's no way you can go to that person's house. But guess what? Now that's one of her closest friends. And then when I tried to stop her from it, she gave me a very big lesson. She literally said, aren't you always talking about friendships in METCO? And aren't you always talking about how you can change someone's mind? It's not her fault that her father's like that. Maybe she's going to change her mind because of me. So now I've allowed the friendship to happen, but they can only come to my house. Because I know in my house, no one's gonna treat the other daughter, the other child bad. But and the father has let her. The kids have worked them ways through that, so this is talking about it really has to be on the individual level.
Sounds great. Well, we do have some committed parents here tonight who are starting up a Friends of METCO organization. So, so a blueprint would be lovely if you...
So which Friends of METCO, the one for the family or the one for fundraising?
A little bit of both.
Okay, because that's awesome. I mean, so that Friends of METCO is the fundraising arm. I'm just saying, according to what I've heard in other towns, and they're the ones that raise money. There's this really creative person over in... oh my God, which town? I'm just all over this place. I've never been to so many suburbs in my life. So where is this? Lincoln. In Lincoln, they are refurbishing American Girl dolls, and they've raised $28,000 in 1 year just collecting dolls. I actually have a few to go give them now too, so I can contribute to that. Because my daughter says, I don't want to play with dolls anymore. I'm like, I know exactly where your American Girl doll is going. It's going to Lincoln, Mass. So that's, and she's willing to share that story. I have my fundraiser working to find out what are all the local places that are actually raising money for METCO, and having a meeting where we can all come together and learn from each other. So that's one of the new things in terms of that blueprint. And then the family exchange program is also dying down significantly. Back in the days, it was very, very strong. Like everybody was paired up with somebody locally. So we got to relive that as again by these two different initiatives. One is for raising money so that carols can do extra stuff here, and the other one is to really bring families together so they can feel welcomed and they can stay behind and not have to go back home sometimes when they have a late night. So happy to put you guys in touch with any of that and have my people work with your people.
Great, that would be great. Do any of you folks who are in this Friends of METCO group, do you want to say anything? You've got an audience potentially at home, or
okay.
Yeah.
So, Pam Hardy, parent of a recent graduate and sophomore at the high school, and appreciate hearing everything that you said. So when Andrew was here, I reached out to him and said, how can we sort of recreate, reprise, refurbish, reinvigorate the host family? At that point it was called. So I've been somewhat involved, but I've also seen that there has been a quieting down of the interaction between the communities.
Right,
so
right.
We've got a number of folks back here who are definitely willing. Some of us are parents of older students, so we definitely want to reach out to parents of younger students to sort of make sure that as we move through the ranks of leaving the school system, we have younger parents involved and are committed to supporting these play dates. So,
this is great. I
Yeah.
mean, thank you so much for wanting to
you.
bring that to light. This is, again, we're going to hopefully come up with this model, and this is one of my visions that I have, where people can go online and say which town you're in and whether you're in the receiving or sending end, and seeing if people want to also just at least start to get some buzz that way, and then having some of these METCO Presents events and bringing people that are interested on interacting to all of these social events. But the program is a monster. It's really big, so we got to find some ways to that people can find the information easy. And this is why the communications person is working on this, and the engagement person, to see if we can come up with a model. That may be the next AmeriCorps position. Create some ways for us to come together, in some blueprints. So that's what we hope to do.
Great. Thank you
Okay.
so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time
much.
and your presentation.
I have
Very
to
helpful.
actually tell you that every single place that I go to, I take a pictures for the Monday message.
Oh.
So I don't know how we can possibly take a picture if it's okay with you, but I would love to highlight that I was here. And we can maybe
If we could do really quick.
We've done this
Love it, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. Sorry. We'll get right back to our agenda.
I have to give you guys credit for inviting me here, and it comes out every single Monday.
Oh, no, thank you. Or are you going to get in it? Are you guys going to be in?
Can you all wear your pins?
Do it for the screen.
Sorry, this is all about, flavor.
We usually do it by the flag here.
Hey, if parents want to come in the photo, come on. This is the whole Hingham community. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
I need some flair. I don't have flair. I never got flair. We need flair. If we're going to get the picture, we need flair. Thank you.
I appreciate this quick pause, but it's important for us to put that up in our wall.
Where are the pens? No water bottle.
I'll take it for you. I gotta be in it? Okay.
Oh, you did. Come and dock, come on in. Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I only have one share.
I really appreciate this, but I gotta put this on my wall.
It's mine, guys.
Can you see everybody?
1, 2, 3. Couple. Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Suzanne.
Be careful of the cord.
Thank you again.
You'll be on our Hingham Public Schools page too, so.
Okay, awesome.
Do you have a business card?
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a
Do you
picture.
have my business card?
No, they're
The bag? Oh, the bag is over here.
All right. All right, thank you again very much.
I didn't know where I was driving to.
Ah, did all right.
So, does anybody need a card?
All right, while Millie is handing out cards and pins, we'll move on to 7.3, to hear the Family and Consumer Science Department Program Review.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Buenas noches.
I love everybody using the pins. I love it.
That's okay. You can blap it. No. We can overlap.
Oh, that's great.
It is.
Thank you for your patience. All right.
Good. Just check the score.
Oh, you just checked the scores. All right, how are we doing?
Okay.
That's
Middle
what
of
we-
the first.
That's
okay.
It's
Still got time.
early in the game.
Oh, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Lauren Beischel. I am the resource teacher for the Hingham Public Schools Family and Consumer Science. That's a mouthful. Family and Consumer Sciences Department. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Andrea Feeney, who is my coworker at the middle school, for being here tonight with me. The report you all received in the presentation has been a joint effort among all of the department members. And then, of course, being where the game is tonight, I'm going to try to keep this fairly quick and brief, just kind of giving you a quick summary and kind of letting the pictures kind of speak for themselves. So the last time we did a review was in the end of the 2013-2014 school year, so about 5 years ago. So we have courses both at the middle school and also the high school. But before I begin talking about the courses, I'd like to begin really quoting the introduction of the written report that was shared with you. Family and Consumer Sciences courses prepare students for their future by teaching life and career skills that are essential for a healthy lifestyle for today's world. Students learn to organize and manage resources, work cooperatively with others, learn how to make the best choices, and develop social and time management skills necessary for independent living. The rationale of Family and Consumer Sciences is to empower students with these competencies, which will in turn allow them to make better choices and eventually toward productive and interconnected relationships. These lifelong relationships result in meaningful family members, employees, global citizens, and community members. Family and Consumer Sciences strives to prepare students with the knowledge, skills, and ability to maintain healthy work-life balances in the 21st century, which will strengthen their quality of life for themselves, their peer, and their family unit. We feel like we offer a fairly comprehensive Family and Consumer Sciences program with introductory courses both at the middle school and then also more content-specific courses at the high school. The courses are designed to deliver practical hands-on life experiences and lifelong values in the present and in the future. Apart from the Introduction to Family and Consumer Sciences 6th grade program, all of the courses are electives and students sign up to take them. So at the middle school, again, we have the 6th grade program, which is mandatory, and then the 7th and 8th grade programs, which are electives. And at the high school, we have 3 different foods courses: Foods and Nutrition 1, Foods and Nutrition 2, Global Foods, Child Development 1 and 2, Exploring Fashion 1 and 2, Interior Design, and also Independent Study if a student chooses to enroll in that. Just quickly going over our department personnel. So at the middle school, we have Andrea, who teaches both the 6th and 8th grade program, and she replaced Kathy Walsh, who retired in 2015. We have Heather Perrine, who was not able to be here tonight, but she teaches 7th grade and started the same year and replaced Jane Kelly. Myself, Lauren Beischel, and I replaced Estelle Cowie-Bryan, who retired at the end of 2014, and I teach mostly foods and interior design courses. And then Gail Shea, who began in January 2018. She replaced Rose Doran, who is also at the high school, child development, foods, and also fashion. So first I'm going to talk about the middle school programs and then get into the high school programs. So the 6th grade exploratory program was revised in summer 2018. The previous program was a sewing project, which Andrea has brought with her tonight that we'll show around samples later on. The new curriculum includes more aspects of family and consumer sciences, including foods and nutrition, sewing, budgeting, and etiquette. All sixth grade students are exposed to family and consumer science in 6th grade, and it's about 11 courses, or excuse me, 11 classes. So here they are with one of their cooking projects. And then one of the sewing projects. For the 7th grade, the students start the year with a sewing introduction unit where they learn about the sewing machine, the history, and how it operates. This knowledge is then applied in 7th graders sew an apron. Math and measuring in the kitchen is the basics for foods in 7th grade. Students progress from easier recipes to more difficult ones, creating breakfast items and incorporate My Plate into the foods labs. Foods units are ended with a cooking final, which includes table setting, and etiquette. This gives students an excellent opportunity to show off their new skills. The 7th grade Family Consumer Sciences traditionally ended with another sewing project, which in the past has been pillows. This year, we decided to incorporate a financial literacy program called Future Smart, which is currently just being piloted the last week or so. It is being piloted. It's an online program which teaches consumer skills. It's a financial literacy program for kids in grades 6 through 8 and empowers them to effectively manage their finances, make sound decisions, and become financially responsible. Through a story-based narrative and interactive exercises, students learn to make real-life decisions about their personal finances, as well as how to achieve important goals about saving money, education, and career planning and budgeting. For the 8th grade, the students are given a task and prompt to work through with their group members based on what they have learned throughout the year, such as nutrition and culture or whatever other topic. They must plan, prepare, cook, and serve a meal with 2 courses based on the prompt. We invited teachers from the other classrooms to taste the delicious meals. Throughout the year, students learn about nutrients in different foods, such as their functions, their sources, the related diseases, how it can make certain dishes healthier by altering ingredients, the cost of food, so homemade versus store-bought, reading labels, and much more. As well as learning to sew a gym bag, students apply important life skills such as communicating, following directions, application of math skills, personal responsibility, and troubleshooting. This is an independent project for each student, but students often pair up for the particular steps, offering and accepting help from one another. So that's some of the culinary volume pictures, and then some sewing pictures. All right, so at the high school, so starting with the foods courses and then going from there. So we have 3 different foods courses as previously mentioned. The first one is Foods and Nutrition 1, which acts as a prerequisite for Foods and Nutrition 2, and then also Global Foods. The content in each course differs, of course. Foods and Nutrition 1 covers basic cooking and food preparation principles, and they typically start the course with recipe literacy, safety and sanitation, simple recipes in our breads unit before moving on to more challenging skills, time management laboratory experiences. One goal of the foods program is to encourage students to make more meals and components of the meal from scratch, rather than convenient processed foods. So here are just some students enjoying some of the foods they prepared. On the left is a homemade chicken noodle soup with homemade chicken stock, kind of really driving home the home-cooked ingredients versus the convenience. Started doing cupcake wars when I came here in 2014. It's changed since I first brought it. Kind of downplayed it a little bit. We used to do these big presentation boxes and everything. But because of time, we've modified it.
Could bring that to the school committee next time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite activities is actually judging.
Yep, you're holding out the good
The
stuff on
boxes
us.
come, yeah.
This is an egg lab. They're making omelets. Part of the breads unit that I mentioned. These pictures are, by the way, from the past 5 years, so you're going to see some people who are probably now starting to graduate college. But I felt it was important to show them. So one of the things we also do, sorry, I don't know why there's all of a sudden. Oh, okay. I was playing with animation last night, and obviously it failed me. But anyways, we try to have presenters from Johnson & Wales University come in, and they're usually chefs of different backgrounds, and they're current university students, and they come in and they cook with the high school students. So the one that we had this past fall, he made something called citrus chocolate ebelskivers, which were kind of really cool. They were like little round pancakes with chocolate in them, with like a little lemon sauce. They're pretty delicious. Anyways, so one of the things we try to do is be green. So in both, well, actually in all the foods courses, we participate with composting and also with Green Week annually. So these are some of the pictures from this past year's Green Week. So the students actually planted sugar snap peas. So they sifted compost and then they actually planted seeds, which they actually, according to the package, should be ready to harvest pretty soon. So you should probably go check on them. So this year we were able to incorporate some community service projects. So not pictured, but the Foods One courses, some of them made homemade dog biscuits, which were donated to the life skill courses, which we're doing a fundraiser for a local animal shelter. And then we also took some food students, both past and present, to the Greater Boston Food Bank for a volunteering field trip. And together they sorted and packaged over 3,000 pounds of food, which apparently is enough for a family of 4 for almost a year. We didn't quite make the full year mark, but almost a year. Another fundraiser that we did, so this one we teamed up with the art department, and it was called the Empty Bowls. Basically, the arts department, specifically the ceramics classes, they made bowls. In the Foods 2 classes, they made 6 different types of soup, which were donated. And between the bowls and the soup, and of course bowls from other schools as well, not just Hingham, they were able to raise over $3,000, which is going to a local food pantry. Here are just some of the students making some of the soups. So speaking of Foods 2, the curriculum is designed to bring more independence, more challenging cooking techniques and skills to build upon the students' skills and knowledge from Foods 1. For example, students focus on proper professional knife skills, pie unit, which I have pictured in the next slide. More advanced egg cookery. So this one on the middle and the left picture, they're making homemade egg pasta. And then on the right, they're making homemade baked Alaska with a homemade ice cream custard and also Italian meringue. So those are some of the things we do in Foods 2. For Global Foods, our third foods course, is an active, student-driven course that exposes students to regional and ethnic cuisine. A favorite project we do is pretty much an American Thanksgiving. The students completely plan and prepare the Thanksgiving meal. But I've really started to try to bring home the international cuisine. So each time we teach the course, it's completely different. The only thing that really kind of stays the same now is the Thanksgiving dinner, which is here. Usually everyone else around loves it because we usually have leftovers. Mm-hmm. And that's sparkling grape juice, by the way. Didn't bring contraband into the building. All right, so moving on to interior design. So interior design primarily focuses on introducing students to the elements and principles of interior design and also architectural, historical architecture. So as you can see here, the students are involved in many hands-on practical skills and projects. This year, the students voted to paint the classroom, which I have in the next slide. But these projects that are pictured include staining and painting wooden objects, creating memory boards, creating wall art, playing with the color wheel, figuring out room spacing, furniture placement, and much more. So here we painted the room. So we got rid of the brick red, and now we have this nice cherry blue, the nice rainbow.
Oh, oh, is it? Oh, the
So another thing we do are these holiday projects, and the reason why we do them is because it is used as an assessment tool for the different principles of design, which they naturally use while they are doing these different projects. So gingerbread houses, the kissing balls, or the boxwood trees. So again, it's an assessment tool. We're not just having fun and eating candies and stuff like that. Another course we have is exploring fashion. That which also had just a recent title change. It used to be called Fashion Flair, but we recently changed it. So the course teaches not only clothing construction, pattern layout, fabric selection, and preparation, but also historical trends and designers and careers in the fashion design industry, which is one of the reasons why we changed it. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of pictures of this one. This is the only one. But you can see some of the students with some of their finished or in the works projects. So our child development course. So in order to take child development, a student Must be in 10th grade or older. The course features a 12-week preschool program for Hingham residents. The current tuition of the program is $250, which essentially covers the cost of the classroom aid. Throughout the course, the interrelationship of all areas of development from birth through the age of 6 are recognized and studied. High school students gain valuable knowledge and skills that will provide them with practical and interesting ways to understand children and help them become more confident and effective as they work with young children. And then I'm going to play the video. So this video does have some music. But each year, these high school students, they create a slideshow, which is then presented at the preschool graduation. Unfortunately, with the fire, the last 4 preschool sessions had to be canceled. So they didn't have their big graduation ceremony. However, the high school teacher, Gail Shea, did email this video to the preschool parents so they could view it. There's a lot of great pictures.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, you'll always have my shoulder when you cry. I'll never let go, never say goodbye. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh. You can count on me 'cause I can count on you.
So it's a really fun program. Being next door in the foods lab, we usually kind of peek in, especially during like song and movement time. It's fun.
If you ever find yourself
There we go. Okay, so going through some of the changes, which I've kind of pretty much discussed already. So again, we had that personnel change, where again, pretty much all of us are new since the last review that was done 5 years ago, since the last staff has retired and moved on to that new chapter in their lives. The course changes, so again, we had the addition of the 6th grade program, which again is mandatory for all 6th grade students to take, and it's about 11 classes in length. The 7th grade program curriculum has added the financial literacy computer software program. And again, the fashion elective course has changed the name from Fashion Flair to Exploring Fashion. And then for some of our equipment that we had to take care of is that we had to replace, just through age and use, many of the different appliances from the high school foods lab, which we were able to put with capital funds. And then also we had the addition of the middle school opening, which is a big thing too. So, some of our strengths. We're very proud to say that we feel like we are highly qualified and very dedicated staff members. We accommodate various learning styles and diverse needs in our classrooms and promote cooperative learning. We continue to take graduate level courses and attend professional development opportunities to stay up to date and current in our field so that we can give the most back to our students. Our program offers performance-oriented courses which are hands-on and interdisciplinary. Julia Child once said, "No one is born a great cook." Let me try that again. "No one is born a great cook. One learns by doing," which we believe extends with all of our courses. Laboratory experiences naturally lend themselves to be infused with reading comprehension, problem solving, teamwork, time management, math skills, with both measuring for both sewing and cooking, and the science behind cooking and baking, and also much more. Another strength that we find is that we continually assess, review, and update the curriculum to anticipate and meet the needs and interests of the students. We feel very blessed and fortunate to have such a strong and supportive school administration and school committee, which allow us to continue to raise an ample supply budget for our classroom supplies and supermarket groceries. And in doing so, we feel like we help keep Hingham a valued, comprehensive public school system. For some of our recommendations, we feel that it would be beneficial to have extra sections of the 6th and 8th grade sections, just because we have growing numbers. For the, sorry, I lost my place. So basically, with the addition of the 6th grade program is increased the numbers for the other middle school electives and then also for the high school electives. But in the 8th grade alone, the course enrollment has skyrocketed. In 2014 to 2015, there were 64 8th grade students enrolled. This year we have over 170. So this is about a 70% increase in student enrollment in the course. This year, some middle school class sizes were over 20 students. For a family consumer sciences class to be successful, we feel that the class size should be much smaller, probably around the 16 to 18 cap, especially for safety and just physical space in the room. Another recommendation we have is to add a foods course to the graduation requirement for future seniors. With the growing movement of healthy at-home cooking and meal prep, basic food preparation skills and nutrition knowledge are crucial to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Ideally, we would like to see Child Development 1 and 2 become year-long courses. Currently, right now, they're just a half year. So a lot of the Child Development program is teaching the preschoolers, as you saw in the video, and it's hard to teach them the background of the child development when we have to get into lesson planning right away. So we feel like a year-long course would be very beneficial. Last but not least, we recommend that Hingham Public Schools continue to offer family and consumer science courses and provide sufficient funds to operate the program. We're very, very thankful for all of your support with all of this. Andrea did bring some sewing projects with her. Unfortunately, we do not have any of the foods offerings.
Yeah, okay.
While she's handing out, I'd love to entertain any questions you may have.
An upgrade from past.
Well, as I was going through the packet, I had remembered that earlier in the school year, and I don't know if you saw it, but we had done under communications that a parent had reached out to commend the program at the middle school and how helpful it was. Had Mr. Smith shared that?
Yes.
With you? Yeah, that was a really touching note from the family, and just how much it was helpful to them that their child knew how to cook and do the laundry and purchase a sewing machine, and so it was excellent. It was a really great presentation. Thank you very much. I could actually cook. It's really helpful, and I think the
Sarah Holly,
committee
very
is
much.
very supportive of the family and consumer sciences. Does anyone have any questions about the presentation or comments? I know. Any questions, comments from anybody?
I'll just say I'm a beneficiary of all the good recipes, and we get chicken piccata when my daughter's home from college. It's one of her favorite recipes in high school, so thank you very much. We enjoy that.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, anything else? No? All right, thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you. All right. That was excellent. All right.
How about just a quick news update
Yes.
for the sports fans here tonight, as well as the folks at home.
Does anybody, do you have one?
The boys lacrosse defeated Newton South 13-3.
Ah, very nice. Thank
Hot
you.
off the press.
Hot off the presses.
How about the brooms? What's the game going?
Thank you, Ed. All right, so item 7.4 is to receive and review the proposed personnel rates for facilities for fiscal year 20. Everybody's got a large spreadsheet at their places from, John, are you going to walk us through this one?
Sure, yeah. There's actually two.
In the packet, the small thing has what you're supposed to be looking at in the big presentation, but you need the big one to see it.
Got it.
Yeah, so the big one is if you're the down at the very bottom where it said personnel charges. So every year we have these are for custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers. With their contracts, their collective bargaining agreements, their rates will actually go up 2% this year. So what this does here on the personnel charges is it raises all of those personnel charges 2%, and it raises them up to the nearest quarter. Okay, so you can see the new rates that are actually proposed, and it's for custodians, cafeteria workers, and bus drivers. And we have three categories. One is Category 1, where it's school-related organizations, PTOs or boosters, and Category 2 is community-based organizations, which are like youth sports or other youth groups, whether it be, could be cultural as well. And Category 3 really is for companies and businesses and those that actually are engaged in enterprise. So in camps, as well as AAU, sports, 501 organizations, anything that doesn't fit within the community or school-related booster organizations. So there's the rates, as I said, they're all up 2%. On the back side of that page, there's one change that it's not personnel related, but I'm talking to Barbara Pye, who manages the facilities. We're actually recommending here that we increase the Category 3 rate, which is for really the companies out there that are doing profitable enterprises. The middle school auditorium, to raise that rate from $800 to $1,200 for a full day, or from $400 to $600 for a half day, and from $125 to $200 an hour for an hour. It's coveted. It's a coveted facility. It's highly used, and typically when these Category 3 renters rent the place, they're selling tickets at a decent rate, and they're making a lot of money. And we think that, and it's costly to run as well if you get the air conditioning running and all the activities and stuff. So. This just makes a suggestion so that the town of Hingham, so the taxpayer gets a little bit more compensation for the use of that resource. So those are the only changes proposed in the rate structure for this year. The personnel to keep tabs with keep pace with the 2% increases in the collective bargaining agreements, and an increase in Category 3 for the middle school auditorium.
questions?
John, what would be an example of a couple of examples of companies that would use the middle school?
But one is always the dance recitals. You know, those are very, very big, very, very large, and they, you know, Barbara keeps tabs on the fees and stuff. So the, you know, it's coveted. It's definitely a coveted resource. People want to use that facility, and you know, there's a lot of wear and tear on it too. It's technical. There's a you know, programming for the drama club has it programmed. So there's it tends to not take abuse, but it's used. It's highly used. So this is just recovering really mostly the expenses and providing the taxpayer retribution for the wear and tear.
Thank you.
John, when was the last time we reassessed all the rates?
That was several years ago, Les. I think we did that. This could be 4 or 5 years ago. I think when the major work we did was when we put the multipurpose
Right.
field in place. So was that 4 years ago now, or
That was
5? Was it
Multipurpose?
13, 14, or?
We started our 6th. We've just started the 6th.
Really?
year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Five in the bank.
So 6 years ago,
5 of
we
usage, yeah, 'cause
assessed,
we
we
installed.
did a major overhaul. Then
Yeah.
that next year, we sort of changed the youth sports and set that per participant fee of $6. Those were the major changes, and then since then, we've sort of kept pace with the 2% increase in the collective bargaining contracts.
Right, on the, I agree with your recommendation on the middle school. I think maybe going into this school year, we should consider looking at all of them, just to keep pace. And with
Well, I
any
did ask
other-
Barbara, that's why you ended up with the middle school. I said, so how are the other rentals going? Where do we see, you know, the one she mentioned of was really the middle school. But we should look at all of them. Again, we could.
Yeah, I mean, even, you know, $10, $20, just to keep pace. So, just
Yeah, we could do
not
another
tonight,
look and
just-
see what the other communities
Yeah.
do, and, you know,
We don't wanna
and
fall
stay
behind.
within reason, but, you know, get proper compensation for the taxpayers' facilities that are being used.
Anything else? Okay. No other questions? Do you need us to vote on this?
Yes, if you'd vote for them to be effective, I think July 1 is when the new contracts take effect. So if we could increase, you know, if, with the middle school auditorium, if there's anything in queue that's sort of rented now for the next one, you know, this would be for new rentals coming up, you know, effective July 1. But if they're already in the queue, I would say we'd maintain those rates just for the, for that one rental. I'm not sure if there's any out there.
Okay. All right.
But everything for effect July 1, 2019.
Okay, great.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed personnel rates for facilities for fiscal year 2020 as recommended.
Second?
I'll second.
Liza, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
Good
No,
job.
all in favor. Great.
Great, thanks. And that included the personnel as well as the facility,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
putting that together, John. Right, item 8. Other items as may not reasonably be known 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Anybody? Seeing none. Moving on to subcommittee and project reports. Okay, first, I think Ed has some warrants in here to report on. Your warrant, just your warrant report.
Oh. Yeah, I noticed, I'm gonna, well, I saw it. Just a couple of pearls, see if I can, what can I get in here? What I'm gonna do, as I said I would, here it is. You'll notice that the warrant has 3, this particular screen has 3 warrants. The note is reflective of the the last one, the 119. Going forward, I'll have an individual page for each of the reports. And just a pearl for you, when you see a warrant in the neighborhood of $89,000, that's going to have a multitude of small little charges. When you see a warrant of $390,000, there aren't as many individual line items. It's kind of interesting. So it took a lot longer to go through the 89,000 than it did the 390. And the synopsis of the, not unusual, but the things that jumped out at me on the warrant, this particular comment is reflective of the warrant 119, the 89,327. And they were cleaning up bills for the baseball, lacrosse, softball officials, as well as track and field, and then some residential tuitions.
Thank you. All right, let's just go, I'll start at the end. Ness, you don't have any liaison reports yet? Okay, no problem. Libby, do you have anything from liaison, community outreach?
I do.
Yep.
So I attended the South School Council for the first time on May 29th.
Okay.
And the couple things from Mrs. Eastwood. She wrote down this quote that she said about the toolbox, that it was the best thing since penicillin. And I just love that. So I wanted to repeat it. And then she also wanted me to make sure to express her gratitude for the expanded math tutoring that they have. Was a new budgetary line item as of this past year, and they have 2 new math tutors 3 days a week. It had been in the pipeline for a long time, and it's made a huge difference in the students' ability and attitudes, and she's very grateful for it, so she wanted me to mention that specifically. And that to keep in mind that she would still like to see a 5 FTE SPED fulfillment rather than a 4.5, and that so she still got that hope up that we get 5 FTEs instead of just 4.5.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I just ask, Libby, I saw your meeting with community outreach tomorrow.
Oh, yes. I have a community outreach scheduled
So I saw
tomorrow.
your agenda, and it said, one of the things, discuss social media agreement. What is that?
In January, the community outreach had written up an agreement, and so Kay Proshma brought it to the committee, and I just wanted to revisit it, and I consolidated it and put it into easier terms to understand, I think, and I just wanted to review it with the community, with the subcommittee.
So that was how we agreed as a committee to operate under social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna bring that and a revisement that I had made to the
Yes.
meeting tomorrow.
Right,
and-
so just related to committee, not staff or any students or anything?
No,
like
no,
that.
no,
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
Just school committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I didn't know what that meant, so.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything, Liza?
Yeah, just for the committee's knowledge, salary negotiations met on Friday, May 24th. Under 48 hours, we reviewed the pay rates for fiscal year 20 for individual hourly employees, and that was all based on contractual commitments. Basically, we didn't have to make any real decisions on it. One item on there was the fee for the director of the driver's ed program, because they were requesting an increase, but we agreed that we needed more information about that. So just wanted to give you all a heads up that we'll be reviewing that program and how that runs, and we'll bring it, we asked for more information about it, and then we'll bring it to the full committee sooner rather than, at some point. And then the other items we discussed, we'll be discussing in executive session tonight.
Great, thank you. Ed, do you have any liaison reports?
No.
No, that's okay. Carrie?
Thank you.
Anything?
The
Policy?
Social Snap, the
Yep.
summer program and Sunset Point programs are up and running, and the summer program especially is good for kids who are doing the extended school year program, because it kind of dovetails with that, so that they would go to the extended school year in the morning and then our program in the afternoon. And then also the end of the year cocktail party on Friday, so hopefully everyone's been invited, hopefully you can join.
Great, thank you.
You know, I guess maybe I am remiss, but just to do a big thank you and a shout out to Service Master. I gave Doug a buzz last week, and he took me by the hand, and I walked the 2 halls in the high school, and there were people were in there. The Service Master were just going to town with dehumidifiers and ozone. John's nodding. I'll let him jump in, but and the whole and most, if not all, of the front parking at the high school was taken up by Service Master vehicles. They were really, really working hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they did an amazing job
Yeah.
allowing us just to, well, not lose a day of school, really. They got us up and running, working
Something
over
out
the
of the
weekend and
Twilight
got
Zone.
us
All
in
the
there.
lockers were open, and the
Yeah.
ceiling tiles were all gone, and the wiring is exposed, and it's as quiet as can be, and ooh.
Everything's plasticed off and
Oh,
zippered up,
there's a fire.
Right, yes.
and they have air purifiers in there where they continuously cycle the air, it goes through a filter. Place smells cleaner than you ever smelled in your
But
life.
just
Well, there's still a little
Yeah.
smoke, there's some smoky rooms, but generally the
We do
place
the rest of the
smells
building?
very, very clean, you know?
Oh, they're there. That's
But
great.
it's
Thank you.
amazing if when you look at those zippers too from a
Terrific
room with those
service.
blowers
Yeah.
on, they're sucked
thank
in,
you.
you know? It's
There
just
was a
keep
comment
recycling that
today
air.
from the high school at the teachers' advisory, wanting to know what materials we use. Was there anything that was harmful?
No, the air was tested. No, it was all,
I
the air was all
did
tested. and
reassure
approved.
them of that. The building commissioner was there steadily, and
Yep.
all the contracted workers were there, and we went to experts immediately. I think they want something in writing.
Yeah, we'll have to get
So-
the reports. We have the reports.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Ed. Carrie, anything else? Policy, schedule something later. And CPAC I can't remember now if their meeting was,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
okay.
They did.
So I think it was in between our last ones.
Yeah, it was good. It was mainly a business meeting, just trying to plan for, they had their elections, and they actually doubled the number of voters this year,
Oh.
which is good. But they're looking at doing an electronic voting next time around, because I think there was some families that sent their ballots and through Backpack Express, and they didn't make it back, so. So they'll be doing that, and then they have a meeting coming up, I think June 12th, on the
Yes.
leveling issue that parents have been talking about. And then the final meeting of the year is June 17th, and that'll be a business meeting as well, just planning for next year.
Okay, great, thank you. Carlos, anything?
Long range planning, we'll be meeting tomorrow right here at 5 p.m. Part of the line item on the agenda is actually an update on the high school fire, so thank you for that advanced update. High school council will be meeting on Wednesday,
Okay.
also at 5 p.m. at the high school. So I hope to attend that.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have anything for special ed subcommittee. I'll probably schedule something, I don't know, I'll chat with Suzanne, we'll schedule something. Maybe for the early summer. I think that's it. Although, I would like to make, just for folks at home and our last of our audience members that are here, that this Wednesday, the community is cordially invited to join us in honoring Dr. Dorothy Gallo for her 56 years of service to the Hingham Public Schools. And there will be a public reception at the Hingham Middle School this Wednesday, June 5th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the middle school cafeteria. So everyone in the community is welcome to come and thank Dr. Gallo for all her hard work and wish her well on her retirement. So again, that's Wednesday, June 5th at the middle school from 2 to 6 p.m. With that, yep.
One little thing to add.
Sure.
I had the honor of chaperoning senior night, and congratulations to the class of 2019. I was given a yearbook by Mrs. Stanley and Mrs. Holler, who were handing them out that night and had helped to organize putting it together. And this is for here. I don't know if this is traditionally how it ends up on the shelf, but they asked me if I would bring it. And so I went around and got as many of the students' signatures as I could.
Nice.
So some of them have signed it. And now we have an official copy for the boardroom.
Great, thank you.
And I will add it to the pile.
To the pile over there. Awesome, thank you so much. Thanks, Libby. And thank you for chaperoning that event. All right, with that, I would take a motion to, unless Carlos has something else to say.
Part of the package actually was a sort of like a show and tell of the solar panels installed at the high school. So it is part of the package right there. That's it.
Oh, yeah, this, yep.
So
Okay.
I know it's for information, but I wanted to acknowledge that you know it's great that we can see that energy is being produced right here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great to eventually get the teacher to come in and do a presentation and just highlight a little more on that as we are, exploring more usage of solar,
John
in
and
our
I
schools.
quickly contacted Katie to send the second piece of paper that tells a little bit more about how pounds get mixed in with kilowatt hours and all of that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, I appreciate seeing that.
It's
yes.
a good system. It's a good system. It's a good system. So what they did was they installed various types of panels, and what this shows you is what the power generation is for each one of those panel designs. Okay, and depending on the how much sun you had, for that period of time. So we can see, if you look at one, you can see one at about 11.3. So clearly, that's probably the design would want, but at least gives you some basis of evaluating, which panel you'd like to use. So, and the kids get to log on to that system. So,
Oh, that's great.
And
Yeah.
with the
It's
passwords,
good.
Katie can just log on and take those measurements
Wow.
at any time and.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
them.
It says the carbon offset for the month was 653 pounds, which is the equivalent of 8 trees. So that is. that is-
John, do we know, does this power something in particular in the high school? Is it generating that? I mean, how much power is this generating?
I'm not. I don't know
Oh,
that
okay.
answer. I'm not sure exactly what it's tied into. So what it's running, but it means certainly it's power to run something.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how it's tied into the overall
I
grid
know it's
network.
part of the science
Study.
education of understanding the different
Right.
panels and seeing solar doing it,
Right.
seeing the panels do their job. But I was just curious to understand, like, if we have 10 of these sets, is that gonna cover the science wing, or?
No, it's not going to cover the science. I'll guarantee that. But I think it's a good tool to really see if
definitely.
we were to consider
Yeah.
some solar. And the peak power depends on how foggy it was. You see the peak power in the different weeks there, like
Yeah.
3.117 watts, or basically 3.1 kilowatts. So and you can see if it was a cloudy week, okay, if we didn't have a lot of sun, your production would actually be down.
Yeah.
And, I think that this equivalent of 8 trees really means is you can either, you could grow 8 trees, or you could use this solar,
Right.
so.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for pointing
Thank
that
you.
out, that was in there. All right, now with that, I will take a motion to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session for, well, I will let whoever's going to make the motion read all that.
Keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, if you,
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session for the purposes of reviewing non-union administrator contracts and discussing strategy related to the collective bargaining Unit A process the public discussion of which may be detrimental to the committee's bargaining position, and to act as appropriate.
Thank you. We have to, any discussion? No. We have to take a roll call vote, so Ness, yes, you want to adjourn?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned to executive session. Thank you, everyone.